Yeah. Can I just throw in something that doesn't have to do with this, but
Of
it's Star
course.
Trek. So I've been watching a lot of Star Trek to get ready for this podcast and then for the upcoming show and all that. Uh, but the other day we watched Treasure Planet, which is a Disney movie,
Mm-hmm.
and they did. One of the characters is like an astrophysicist, and he's like talking to this kid in the movie, and his name is James, but he goes by Jim, and he goes, "Dang it, Jim, I'm an astrophysicist, not a doctor." And then he goes, "Well, I'm a doctor, but not that kind of doctor." And it just sort of devolved from there. It was really hilarious because,
That's
you
great.
know, I'm like, that's so perfect that it fits in with all of this that I've been doing lately.
Well, you talk about how they wrote women. That's one of the reasons, Denise Crosby left,
Hmm.
wanted to be written out because she said basically all I was saying was hailing frequencies open and closed.
Right.
So, and then
It's almost like, why even have any lines if you're not even gonna get good lines?
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's a shame because, it's not like Denise Crosby is a bad actress. Like, she could have done more with the role if they'd given her more to do with it. But I have to say, I do enjoy Dr. Pulaski. I like her in this episode. She's not a ton in this episode, but we do see it by the end of this poker scene. She sure knows her poker because she's there throwing out, the man with the axe takes it all, and one-eyed kings are wild or whatever. And she obviously knows her stuff, which is pretty cool. After this poker scene, we do get a scene of Captain Picard sitting in the lounge of the starbase, and he's enjoying a beverage. Maybe it's some Earl Grey tea, hot, possibly. And he sees
I don't know. It's an opaque glass, so we don't know what's in it.
That is true, but we could write our own fan fiction about what
Yeah.
he's drinking. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a espresso or something.
Could be.
Because it's kind of skinny. I don't know.
A little pick me up, he's had
Yeah.
a long day and now he's relaxing in the starbase. And
maybe a French coffee.
maybe a little taste of home.
Captain Picard is drinking a Red Bull in a mug.
He's drinking a Red Bull. He's drinking Red Bull and vodka in a coffee mug so that nobody knows what he's drinking.
Oh, I love it. Sorry.
Long day on the Enterprise. He does see a woman come in, and he's surprised to see her. She approaches him, or he approaches her, excuse me, and we find out that she is Captain Philippa Louvois, right? Louvois. And they have a little flirtatious banter here. And I have to say, I really enjoyed this actress in the role of Philippa. I thought she was great. She's played by Amanda McBroom. I would have loved to have seen her show up again in a future episode, but anyway, what did you guys think of the introduction of this little teaser about who Philippa is?
Oh, I love their before it went to the opening credits, their banter. So you get a little tease of their history. Where I think he says, seeing you again, you're back in uniform after 10 years, but seeing you again like this makes it seem like 50.
Yeah.
That's like, it's a similar joke I've said, like my wife hates this, where I said, oh, we've been married for 25 years. It's been the best 7 years of my life kind of thing, and I get smacked, that kind of thing. But I looked her up. She was on I guess she's got a musical background because some of the things she's written were in just various TV shows. She's like background music, but she was also on the Tonight Show as a musical guest back in the early 80s. So it's kind of interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, she did a lot of she did cabaret singing and stuff too, and you can sort of tell by the way she acts. I feel like, like she's just like, "Hello, boys." She's got like a little Mae Westy bit to her, and that's great. But she wrote the song "The Rose."
Yes.
Oh, the one
the bane of my existence in middle school, because all the girls wanted to sing it in choir when we had like a free time and we could like pick the songs we wanted to sing.
So you're like sick of that song now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I was sick of that song in 1992.
Yeah, I couldn't you see her like in a World War II period piece movie?
Yeah.
Hello, boys, fighting hard on the front lines for your girls back home. Like, she absolutely has that vibe.
Like, and part of her vibe, like watching it this time, after all the other things I've seen since the last time I'd seen this, like there's a part in Captain America, the First Avenger, where he takes down the flag and Peggy Carter looks at him like she wants to eat him up. And that's exactly like how she's looking at Picard in this.
Well, she says he is a damn sexy man.
I mean, she's not wrong.
I mean, she's
I know.
not.
I agree.
Not, yeah, she's not. Joe's like, I would. But, yeah, I too enjoy this whole introduction to Philippa.
The thing I don't like about her is her hair is atrocious.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, but it's
like helmet hair.
It was the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah,
I mean, who had good hair? Nobody.
I mean, yeah.
Nobody had a good hairstyle back then.
That's true.
They were still putting Deanna Troi in a kooky, weird bun thing, I think, and she looked atrocious. Yeah, nobody had good hair.
I totally forgot about that.
No one had good hair.
Yeah, they totally did that, didn't they?
Yeah. So here now, after the credits, we've got now Philippa joins him at the table. We find out that she is the 23rd Sector JAG officer, but she's brand new here. She has no staff. But more importantly, we find out a bit more about their history, because 10 years ago, when Captain Picard lost his other ship, the Stargazer, in battle, she prosecuted him in the court-martial. And he always felt that she enjoyed it a little too much. And he very condescendingly says to her that he hopes that she's picked up some wisdom along the way. Which, normally, I love Picard, but come on. That was kind of a terrible thing to say to her.
Yeah, I had that written down, too, because he, Picard, who's normally so stoic and understanding of Starfleet procedures, you could tell this is still a huge grudge that he's holding over this, taking it super personal.
Yeah. Well, when it's someone you're talking to who says that they want to hit, like, oh, you want to hit you over the face with a chair, or you want to hit me over the, whatever they said, whatever she said to him, and then was like, oh, it turns around and is like, well, you're still pretty hot, kind of thing. Like, they have a really strange relationship. So,
well, the script, they kind of danced around it in here, but in the script, there was a reference to they were an item up until the court martial, and then that's when they broke it. That's when it got broken off after that.
Oh, okay. That makes sense then. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly implied here, as you said, but in the script, it's explicitly said, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. That definitely makes sense, and yeah, you get it. But at the same time, like, she is just doing her job. I mean, she's the JAG officer. She was in charge of what's the right word? She was in charge of prosecuting him because that was the assignment she was given. She didn't have a choice, so she did it. This does remind me of and maybe you'll have that same feeling, Joe, is that do you remember there was a original series episode where there was a I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's called Court Martial, where there's a guy there's one of Kirk's crew members appears to have died on a mission, and there's a question of if Kirk did something wrong or not, and he gets court-martialed for it, and the woman who is in charge of court-martialing him is, of course, an old flame, because Kirk has old flames everywhere. Yeah. Do you recall that episode at all?
I don't.
Oh, it was in season 1 of the original series. It's just called Court Martial, and it kind of is a similar beginning with, a captain being court-martialed, and then you've got an old flame and blah, blah, blah. But just a little touch. It just reminded me of it. But
Well, her thing with talking about prosecution, when I think of this, I think back in high school, I was forced. We had like a debate segment in English class, and because they didn't have enough people, I was forced to debate the pro side of General Sherman like mowing through the South, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this?
Jesus.
But like, I remember my teacher, Mr. Eisen's like, you have to find, you have to prosecute, you have to, or you have to support your decision. I'm like, oh my God. So that's what reminds me here. It is a procedure. It is, and as we'll learn later with, Riker having to be the adversary, it was really essential to bring out the best in both sides.
Right. Exactly. And of course, as we know, Star Trek is based on the Navy. They are meant to be like the naval branch, if you would, of Starfleet. So that's why, there's all these naval procedures are still carried over. You still got the, Admiral on the bridge and the Judge Advocate General and all the naval terms and stuff, because they are meant to be based in the Navy.
Right. Well, and I feel like that's probably something that George Lucas took whenever he did Star Wars, because they all have like admirals and all that, like they would in the Navy, like the same sort of ranks. And I've heard people on Star Wars podcasts be like, but wouldn't they be like Air Force or Army or something different? And it's like, hey, maybe he just stole that idea.
I mean, who knows? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, Trek came first, so who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying, And maybe he didn't realize that there was a difference, and that's, what I mean?
Maybe Lucas just copied something better. Anyway, next
but if
scene...
it were, hey, but if if this had been Star Wars, if this had been Star Wars, it would have been Space Jag. She would have been the Space Judge Advocate General.
Space Jag.
Almost everything's got some sort of space or spacey name in front of it.
There you go. Exactly.
The bailiff would have been a Wookiee, and all that. So.
That's awesome. So okay, they got their little sexy banter. They're, she's very sarcastic and kind of dry, and he's just like, you enjoyed prosecuting me way too much. But she says that he is still a damn sexy man, which we all agree he is.
Yeah.
And then we get introduced to two other characters here, Admiral Nakamura and Commander Bruce Maddox. They kind of come into the conversation, and they want to go up to the Enterprise. And of course, the captain's like, of course, Admiral, I'll take you up to the Enterprise. So our next scene is we're back on the Enterprise, on the bridge. Admiral Nakamura is walking around, and Bruce Maddox just is staring creepily at Data. Like,
he's like boring a hole in Data's head with his stare.
To the point that like other people on the bridge are like, what is happening?
Like, not just Data looking around thinking someone's staring at him. Everyone is like, what is going on here?
It's obvious that Bruce Maddox just has eyes for Data and no one else. So,
okay.
I only have eyes for you.
Yeah.
So, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this now, even though we haven't gotten quite to what his reason for being there is. But I wrote, has he been obsessing over Data for years?
Yes.
Like living in his mom's space basement, because I wrote everything with space on it because it makes me laugh. Just imagining the day he'd get his hand on this android. He plotted on how to get in good with an admiral just so he could have clearance to take Data.
Yeah. We're about to learn his history, but he has been obsessed with Data for years. This character is played by Brian Brophy, who has been in has had small parts in like big movies and stuff. But I don't know, he played a creeper really well. I'm a little nervous about this guy. Like, I hope he's not actually a creeper, but he's a little too good at this.
He was really, really creepy.
He was. There's a scene toward later on when they're in the courtroom and Riker pulls his dramatic